We're gonna lock down to Electric Avenue. And yeah, what's happening? Hello, happy Sunday, one. Happy Sunday, all. Hello to Katie, hello to So Unique. Apparently she's got, I assume you're a she. She's got alcohol this time. Sandra Marshall's in the house. Georgina Emery's here. Michelle Nye, hi. Kath Cross, hi Steph Coleman, hi Kelly O'Brien, hi Sherry Elston, Ryan Shaw, Vicky, Fizzy's here, Maureen, welcome Maureen, all the way from the States. Hello, welcome one, welcome all, are we well? Before we kick off, where are you all from? Type in the comments box, where are you all from? I know we've got people from the States, sometimes people from Australia. How are we? Tell me where you're from. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to Sarah Parsons. Margaret's got a cup of tea. Hey, Nicola Simmet. Cheese and toast. Richard Miller's in the house. Hey, Gabrielle. Lovely to see you too. We've got Ryan Shaw from Manchester. Welcome. I used to live in Manchester. We've got Birmingham. We've got Warrington. Victoria Becker. West London, Sue Wood. Whereabouts in West London? Kent. Was that Blackpool? That was Blackpool. They're going up Harrogate. Oh, it's lovely in Harrogate. We've got Liverpool. We've got South Yorkshire, Scotland, Kentucky. Oh, Kaz Seddon, Grimsby. Maybe one day, Kaz, we're going to bump into each other in Grimsby. Who knows? Katie says Northwest England. Oh, apparently Georgina Emery is from Southampton, but has lived in Spain for nearly 19 years. And Laura Petch is in Cleethorpes. Whereabouts in Cleethorpes, Laura Petch? Just like me. Welcome one. It's Sunday. Does anyone watch Strictly? I'm not going to give away any spoilers if you did. But I've just watched the results show. I scheduled this live a little bit earlier today, only because I realised that the Pride of Britain Award starts at 9. So if anyone wants to watch that, then we'll probably wrap up around then. How are we? Obviously, if you've been living under a rock, you won't know that we're heading into lockdown 2. Should we call it lockdown 2? Should we call it L2? Should we call it lockdown B2 version 2? Lockdown 2.0, like some sort of software update? Gabrielle says, loving Strictly, the right person when. I absolutely agree, Strictly. Gabrielle apparently is Strictly. You speak for the whole of Strictly. No, I absolutely agree. It's a really strong year. But did anyone read the comments that Craig Revel-Horwood said about the professional dancers? If you haven't had a look, in fact, I might find it. He basically said that the dancers have been like out to pasture. He has the habit. I love Craig. He does have the habit of being a little bit bitchy. This is in the Daily Mail. Don't want to say it out loud, but he says that he makes they're out to pasture. Strictly Judge Craig Revel-Horwood makes thinly veiled dig at pros as he claims the show is not a real dance competition, and he says that all the pros apparently are done for. Sue Wood says we should call it Breakdown 2. Oh God, Sue Wood, I would kind of laugh at that, but I'm slightly worried that it might be a little bit of a breakdown for some people. Lockdown 2.0, lockdown part 2. Laura says she wasn't sure about the new judge, but she likes her now. Haven't watched the Strictly results. I won't give it away then. But yeah, Craig does stir the pot. So listen, lockdown 2. Who could have predicted that, hey? Apparently, Anne Collard says we've got one more week in circuit breaker lockdown in Wales, but likely to be out of any lockdown from next Monday. Before we talk about that, cheers. I'm on the wine tonight. I'm on the red wine. I actually said to myself, I said, you know what? If we're going into this lockdown, I'm not going to drink. And then my dad So I'll try not to drink from the 1st of November. For the whole of November, I'll try and not have a drink. And then my dad, this evening, we had some lamb for tea, and he was like, do you want a glass of red wine? I was like, all right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll start the no drinking from the start of lockdown. So I have slightly ruined it already. I've just moved the goalpost slightly, which I personally think the government are the masters of doing. So we've got, who else? We've got Sarah Elston says, cheers. Raspberry Mojito Girl, I had a glass of red wine at my mum's. Salsa Trish is on the team. Nice, Salsa Trish. McDonald's Farmer, listen to Professor Mike Eden. He says pandemic was over months ago. Ooh, it's kind of one of those things, isn't it? You can kind of get so caught up on reading other people's opinions and scientific stuff that you boggle the mind. And one day I'm like almost a conspiracy theorist, and then the next day I'm like, oh God, this is the worst. Lockdown the 2nd, says Sharon Elston. Oh, I like this from Digital Dreambot. I'm going to put this on, I think your name's Denise, isn't it, if I remember rightly? Lockdown, the sequel. Firstly, I would like to ask you all right now, just put it in the comments. Do you think we need this lockdown? A simple yes or no would be good. Do you think we need this lockdown? What do you reckon? A simple yes or no. And while you say that, Sue Wood apparently has had sticky toffee pudding with cream. So nice to hear that, Sue Wood. Do we think we need this lockdown? Do you think that this is what we need to do? Or do you think that it's a bit too little, too late? Kaz says no. Paul says yes. We've got yes from Fairy Dust. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, okay. So a lot of people in the comments are saying yes. Victoria says no. Phil Park says, cheers, Lee. I think the government want to look good and say, let's have a great Christmas. Then we'll all be in lockdown again in January. I'm inclined to agree, Phil. Louise feels a bit fed up. My 16-year-old just started her first job in a hairdresser's, which is now shut, so worried for smaller businesses. Right. Okay. Hey, Pendleton Dance. Listen, I'm going to say something right now, and yes, we should have had the circuit breaker probably, but I watched someone on YouTube today. Actually, this was recommended to me by Ms. Nadia Sawala, and it was John Campbell, okay? And he did a recent video. He's got like 700,000 subscribers as well. It's so funny because he just sits in his room and just spouts facts and is very reasonable and very logical, not really emotional. And he's a scientist. And yeah, he was talking about immunity. And there's loads of stuff in the media at the minute about antibodies and how they over time fade. And what I will say is that is true, but when you read stuff like that, it can be quite triggering because you start to panic. But what I want people to remember, and John Campbell summed this up perfectly, was that antibodies have and do fade over time anyway. That's always the case, but that's not the only arm to the immune system. Also, if you hear, it's quite windy outside, so you might hear a kind of echoey. So that's not the only arm to the immune system. So when you read, I want you going forward, because loads of people are getting anxious, whatever, when you read things like antibodies, people who tested positive for antibodies 3 months ago retested, there's no antibodies. That might be the case, but there's other forms of immunity, and antibodies, I read somewhere, they do go, but they're like a memory thing. So the memory of them keeps, and then bam, they're back. So I just want you to remember that, because I think we are building immunity, and that's a hopeful thing. I'm not saying whether lockdown is good or whether it's bad. I personally think that it could be detrimental to a lot of people's health in other ways. But yeah, the comment that I just got actually from the lady about her daughter at the hairdresser. Listen, I sympathize massively with you. Okay, I lost my job in March. There is no chance of that coming back anytime soon. I did so. I don't know if anyone knows, but I did the warm up at Loose Women, audience warm up. I also did other shows here and there, and I also hosted events here and there. I did a bit of radio. I kind of was one of those that did little bits here and there. But Loose Women was the bread and butter. But the whole industry that I work in is essentially shut down. And it's been tough. It's been tough for a lot of people, okay? And including people like hairdressers that now have to close. But you have to just let go of trying to control it, all right? So during lockdown V1, would wake up on a Monday and I'd be like, right, let's make a list of things to do for the week. Productivity, let's do this. By the end of Monday, I didn't do any of the things I did. By the end of the week, I did nothing. Then I went into a further thing. Lucy Travy, I will go back to your comment. So I think just take it day by day, do what they've told you, obey the rules, see where we are. But I really do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Lucy Travy says, some will build immunity, but many will die. OAPs cannot get immunity, it kills them. Young ones are fine. You're so right, Lucy Travy, which is why I think we probably need a lockdown for the vulnerable and for the elderly. And loads of people will say, well, why should we lock down the elderly and just lock down them? That's not fair. Well, I'd actually say it's fairer to do that, because while the elderly are locked down, which they would have been locked down regardless if we all locked down as well, if we can all go out and maybe build up some immunity and suppress the virus that way, this is only a personal opinion based on a lot of things that I've watched, that I hope and I think will be a quicker way of getting out of it. Because let's face it, we're not going to get down to 0 cases. It's pretty much impossible. And yeah, so, but I totally agree with you, Tracy. And I don't think anyone says, let the elderly just go roaming around. And, I think that would be absolutely ludicrous. And also a lot of younger people who have health issues or possibly it's said that are clinically obese can suffer. Welcome, Woo Mac, better late than never. Bless you, Lee, says Louise K. Thanks, I feel sad for her. I know it's tough for everyone in different ways. Michelle Nye, don't get me started. Michelle Nye, self-employed furlough should be 80% like normal furlough. You know that's the case. So self-employed people, such as myself, are only getting 40% furlough during this, whereas anyone who's employed will get 80%. Honestly, I had to breathe today and just take a step back, because there's getting angry with it and then there's getting majorly angry. But I really do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Francois says, I felt the same in lockdown. I didn't feel like doing much at all. Energy levels were low, just about managed to do a workout. Oh, I really don't want them to close gyms, but I'm going to have to. Chrissy says, I'm confused about shielding. Why are you confused about it, Chrissy? Maybe let's help you out. Tell us what you're confused about. Margaret, you're going to have to go silver. Or is that because of your hair? Oh, gosh. My cousin-in-law, says Nicola Randall, has had a kidney transplant and has been careful since the start of the pandemic. She is in her 30s. Listen, loads of people are sending their regards. Bless you. Thank you for the sympathy. I'm in a lucky position. I can go back and stay with my parents. I'm just going to move that. That's my ring light you can see there. And I can, I do think about myself years ago where I was just living hand to mouth. I was lucky that I had a little bit of savings that got me through. I'm going to be in a bit of debt for a while, but it's kind of, it pales in comparison to some people who are really struggling. I really feel for it. And Karen says, I think we should lock down. Well, she's actually, Karen's actually put, I think we should lick down. But Karen, I assume that's an autocorrect. I don't think we should be licking anyone down, although, to be honest, it's been a while. Karen says, I think we should lock down those people that have been breaking the rules and let the sensible people who have been social distancing just live normally. Karen, it's hard, isn't it? But I personally think that the government just, excuse my language, effed it all up. Don't you think? Who thinks the government, right, have done a good job here? Just tell me whether you do or not. Hey, Millie, no worries for being late. Margaret Wright says, my son might lose his job in Berlin, have to come home. Anne Collard says, in Wales, those who were formerly shielding were sent letters last week to say that they're not bringing in shield again, but should be extra careful. I'm going to have gratitude, or where was that? That my friends and family are safe. The virus has killed so many and we should comply with the rules for the sake of families of lost ones. No one thinks the government has done a good job. Maureen, welcome, Maureen. Hello, I feel like you haven't been here for a while. Although saying that, I haven't. Not everyone will comply, but I think it's important to note that we get, I don't know if it's the same in America actually, Maureen, and you might be able to help me out here, or anyone who's abroad, but I think in Britain, we have a habit of focusing on those that aren't following the rules, and we assume that that's the majority. And I have a theory where I think subconsciously it makes you feel better about yourself. So, you know, when people go, oh, people are breaking the rules, oh, and they get really annoyed about it. I don't get annoyed about it. It does sometimes, it annoyed me at the start, but actually, I always assumed that they were the minority, and like Maureen said, people are always gonna break the rules. So I think when you get annoyed at the minority breaking the rules, it's a bit pointless, because you then forget about everyone else who's following the rules. They are the minority, let them get on with it. And yeah, I just think, there's a weird kind of subconscious egotisticness to getting annoyed over the minority. And I'm not saying that to anyone personally, but it almost sometimes comes across as people like to almost, in a weird way, brag that they're not breaking the rules by having a go at those that are, and actually it's so the minority that are breaking it. Richard Miller makes a good point. He says governments across Europe are struggling too. Germany has brought in restrictions and they dealt with it well at first. Yes, I know. Kaz Seddon says, I don't neither. Let people make their own choices. Carol Sakura, I think, said lockdown is great, but isn't it, a lockdown should be a lockdown, if you think, you know, they've been using these war analogies for so long, haven't they, the government? And lockdown, I think, in war is an equivalent to, you know, when both kind of teams, enemies, whatever, go back to base and they rest and they think up of a new strategy. That's what a lockdown is, really. Yeah, I really think we need to, the government, God, the government. I mean, what do you expect when you've got a prime minister who doesn't even brush his hair? I mean, come on. Although I can't talk, I cannot talk at all. But let's try and move off the subject of doom and gloom lockdown. What is going on with this doom and gloom lockdown? Because it's boring. How are we feeling about it though, before we do? Do you feel mentally capable? Are you struggling? What do you need? Talk to me. I need a sip of wine while you answer that. Sandra Marshall says lockdown will not work with the schools open and uni. I loved lockdown, but it won't be a second lockdown for me this time. Yes, so many people actually liked the original lockdown. Don't you think? They actually kind of, I'm just going to move this camera slightly. I'm looking into the lens. Does that make a difference? Does it, when I look into this lens, does it look like I'm looking directly at you? Hello. Hello. It's me. Oh God, Marcia, Tom's feeling very low and frightened. Pendleton dance, I'm not mentally capable. Yes, you are, Pendleton. I have faith in you. Struggling says Shasana. Kate Winnie, I would have been fine if the gyms were kept open. Guys, I agree with Kate Winnie, and also Kate Winnie happens to be my best friend. You may recognize her from Live from Liam Friends. We need to do another one of those. And if you have Instagram, go and follow her. She's an Instagram influencer. Denise Nelson Gale says we just have to get on with it and hope for the best. Carter Girl says like lockdown, and I assume the tone of that is an angry. No, I have to say, Carter Girl, some people did like lockdown. Some people, and that's okay, that's not their fault, but some people did because it worked for them. They could work from home, they had a kind of safety-ness about it. I don't think we should get angry at that. Phil Park says they should have practiced the pandemic before, as a government are advised to do, but ours were just arguing and never believed it would have happened. Phil Parks, you talk a lot of sense. Oh, do you know what? It's kind of a funny comment, but it's not at the same time. Kath Cross says, I didn't mind the first lockdown because the weather was so good. And actually, you are right. But what I will say is that the worry is that this dreary darkness and cold, rainy weather is just going to make people go absolutely insane. Victoria Beckett, thank you very much, Victoria Beckett. That's very kind of you to send that super sticker. Round of applause, virtual round of applause for Victoria Beckett there. For some, the original lockdown was a bit of a holiday, says Louise K. I'm done with it all, but it is my birth. Oh my God, it's only Louise K's bloody birthday tomorrow, so everyone cheer her up. Happy birthday, Louise K. That's why I'm drinking red wine right now, darling. Happy birthday, Louise K, for tomorrow. Right, let's move on from lockdown. Let's move on from that. We can't change it. We have to accept it. It's a bit shit. It's a lot shit. But listen, we've got this, okay? I think Boris is obsessed with at least having a normal Christmas. So that is something we can look forward to. Now, I have decided, with the recommendation from Nadia as well, YouTube extraordinaire, that I'm gonna put loads more content out. I'm a bit drunk. I'm gonna put loads more content out during this lockdown version 2, lockdown 2.0. And I want you to recommend what you want. I'm going to do loads of the talking heads, which, by the way, loads of you are so nice when you comment on those talking heads, because I write, and I'm not like a great writer by any stretch of imagination, but I sometimes just write stuff. And then when I put it out, I also want to say I read it to the camera as if I'm reading it from a piece of paper. But you're so nice and you spur me on to do more. So I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more lives. I'm going to try and do daily things as much as I can. Maureen says more lives. Gabrielle, can you put drunk content out? I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do, I don't know if anyone ever saw Drunk History. I'm going to do something similar to that, where I get a little bit smashed and I try to explain something, but it might be a little bit difficult. Jana, that's very kind. You says we are honest, not nice. You are greatly. Thank you, Janet. Gabrielle Womack says do some cooking. Maybe I could do some cooking. I don't really cook loads. I can cook, but I can't always be bothered. And the one about your niece being born brought a tear to my eye. Beautifully written and read. Thank you, Anne Collard. So yeah, let me know the kind of stuff you want. I'm going to be putting loads more stuff out there as much as I can. I'll try and do more live with Lee and Friends. I've got some more podcasts on the go. I'm going to try and do it so that everyone feels like they've got something to go to where they can escape it, whether it be 10 minutes, whether it be for an hour, whatever. And let's get through this lockdown together. I'm feeling way more positive about this lockdown than I did the first hand. I've accepted I'm not getting the job back for a while. I'm over it. I'm letting the stream take me along without drowning, okay? And I definitely think, oh, people say quizzes. Should we do some quizzes? Yeah, I'm happy to do some quizzes. We need a psychic medium night again, says, who was that who said that? Was that Francoise? I love the name Francoise, don't you? Selena Lou Fogg did not get an alert. What has she missed? Karen R. Lee, less than 20% of the population self-isolate when told to. That is not a minority of people. I mean, who goes out when they're infected? That's why we're back in lockdown. All right, Karen R., you're so right, okay? And I'm not going to argue with you there, but one, less than 20% of the population, I would say, is a minority, because by that very sentence, less than 20%, they're in the minority. Secondly, at the start of this whole pandemic, I was the same as you. I was like, who would go out if they're infected? What you don't realize, or maybe what you're not thinking about, is people have to sometimes go out. They have to go to work. They have to earn some money. They have to put food on the table. The government have provided a really shit way of, I read this, I watched, do you know yesterday, I don't know if anyone was waiting for Bojo to come out. He took like 2 hours. It was what we were all waiting for him. It was probably bloody, I don't know what he was doing. He wasn't brushing his hair, that's for sure. But what I'm saying, Karen, is someone on the TV said people have to have a reward for staying in and for isolating. And it is absolutely, it might not be morally right, but it's fact, okay? And we've got to accept that. People who already have the virus have gone, well, I've got the virus now, and I need to feed my 3 kids on the table and my wife, or I need to feed my husband, or I need to do this, or I need to do that, and I can't not go to work, because if I don't go to work, such and such, blah, 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 blah. And the government have not put any incentive for people who are already infected to stay in. Because what the human condition does is they just go, oh, well, it'll be fine. I'll take extra precaution. And that's why. So, and I'm not having a go at you here, Karen, because that was a great comment. But what I'm saying is there's no incentive from the government. And what's happening now is you and people like you are getting angry at people from the bottom up. And you should be getting angry at people from the top down, okay? Because some people cannot afford to take time off to self-isolate. The system isn't good enough to ensure that they will be recompensed sufficiently, and it's all a load of bollocks, if you ask me. So, you know, at the start of this whole thing, I would have been exactly the same to you. Who would be selfish enough not to isolate? But actually, when I thought about it, when I heard of first-hand stories, and you know, when you just have to put yourself in that thing, you go, some people feel like they cannot. Sorry, I didn't think you were angry, Karen. Good, but it's a great comment, and I'm really glad that you said it. And I know I'm sounding angry now. It's the red wine, but it annoys me that it annoys me sometimes that it's not directed at the government. And I sometimes think people maybe do that because it's an easier target to direct it at individuals. But actually, we should be shooting straight at the government, not literally, but shooting straight to our criticism straight towards the government. Karen says, I just think that people have to take personal responsibility and we can't just keep blaming the government. You are right, Karen. And I also think that what then happens is by osmosis, people see loads of people breaking the rules, and then more people go, oh, well, if they've done that, I can do this because it's less severe, etc., etc. Louise K says it's called survival mode. Gabrielle, we need track and trace sorted before anything else. Track and trace? Didn't they offload that to a private company for like 12 billion? It's ludicrous. You're so right, Karen, says Nicola Randall. Personal responsibility is also important. I agree, it is. But I really do think that the government needs to absolutely just... Margaret Wright, can we change the subject? Do you know what's funny? There's not really any more bloody subjects, are there, Margaret? Everything leads back to COVID-19. But yes, we should. So it worried me though. What about the future of Strictly? I heard a thing that maybe it won't carry on. Will it be classed as essential work? I personally think that it is essential work because it's allowing people to have a bit of escapism. Who agrees? Who thinks Strictly Come Dancing, no matter what, should carry on? Millie123, was it Yuli who went fragrance shopping with Nadia on her Vlogmas? Yes, I did actually, Millie. It was me indeed. We went round John Lewis in December, unbeknownst to things to come, and then I think we went for drinks afterwards, if I remember rightly. Yeah, but we picked Mark a very nice. Oh yes, Gabrielle, Johnny Depp verdict tomorrow. What do we think about that, guys? I don't know if you know the news of that. Johnny Depp is taking, I believe, the Sun, and also I think Dan Wootton personally to court. What do we think about that? It's the verdict tomorrow. Oh, apparently I'm a Celeb is going ahead. Margaret says she can't wait for it to start. Donna Pearson loves Cleethorpes for a night out. We come every year, but not this year. Strictly is essential. I agree. I know it's so. Oh, it's nearly time for Pride of Britain. Don't worry, we'll have wrapped up by then. I agree that it sounds quite easy to go, oh no, Strictly shouldn't go ahead, but for some people it is essential. At the start of this lockdown, one of my friends is in a soap, and they were saying that they were worried about continuing filming, and they continued for a bit, and they locked down, and then they started again halfway through. And I said to them, I said, listen, for some people, soaps and TV are a lifeline. It's company. You've got to think about all the elderly people who are shielding, you know, the soaps. My grandma loves her soap. She loves her TV. It is key for some people, and yeah, I think it should carry on. Dawn says my little girl Maggie is really upset about the lockdown. She's only 6 and she has ADHD and really struggles with not being able to go out, and it's cold and wet for her even to go into the garden. Oh, well, Dawn, firstly, tell your little girl that I love the name Maggie. Secondly, I hope that she can find, I don't know, I hope that she can find some way of finding things to do. I know outside is different, but can she do stuff inside? Can she do like an assault course inside or anything? I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so rubbish sometimes with advice. I'm like thinking of what a 6-year-old could do. My niece is 6 and I'm struggling. Karen R, I'm not saying the government hasn't messed this up, and yes, they should be supporting people, but people have. You are so right, and I think it's a balance, Karen R. Kaz, you've just sent some red wine fund. Bless you. Thank you very much, Kaz. I'll sip it right now. The taste of Kaz Seddon, how divine. I'm very well, thank you, MP. It doesn't feel like a Sunday. Anne Collard says, I hope Loose Women carries on. I agree. Donna Pearson, what's your favourite place to drink in Cleethorpes? Donna, I came back halfway through this period, so I haven't really been out drinking in Cleethorpes, and I haven't lived here for about 11 years, so you tell me. You probably know Cleethorpes more than I do. When I used to go out in Cleethorpes, it was like Flares and the pier and stuff. The pier's now a fish shop, if I know rightly. And Sharon says, I hope Johnny Depp wins. Oh, Michael Augustine Reed. Hello, Michael. I have met Johnny Depp twice. He's the nicest guy in the world. One night was in a bar and we chatted over a beer. Oh, Michael. How was that? What did you talk about? We want the gossip. Woomac says, how's the driving? Oh, the driving's going okay. We didn't have the best lesson last week. And I don't know if my lesson is going on now, because I was meant to have one on Thursday. I need to text him actually. I don't know if it's going ahead because of lockdown. I don't think it will, to be honest. But yeah, it's touch and go. You know, some days are good. Other days I forget that people are walking over zebra crossings and we have to do emergency stops, because apparently that's a thing. So yeah, it's somewhat difficult sometimes. I'm just not very good at concentrating or like thinking of things while driving, and apparently that's quite important, because you're driving something. But yeah, people's lives are at risk, so it's probably good that we've locked down, because if I do carry on the driving lessons, a lot of people will be safer indoors, I feel. Maureen says, did you see Nadia in London? Yes, I did. We went for dinner. Sorry, we went for lunch outside. There was a lovely table outside, so we were allowed to go and meet for lunch. We had a patio heater, and bless Nadia, she treated me to lunch, which was very nice. And we caught up, we laughed, and I actually briefly saw Mark as well from a distance. Mark came and picked her up, and yeah, it was very nice to see her. But I miss all my work people, not just the women, but also the crew. It's a really weird one. I watch the show now and I can sometimes hear the crew laughing, or I just like imagine where all the crew are. But it does make you realize how much of a nice job you had, and I felt very lucky to do that. So Tina Davis says, you make me laugh, Lee. Thank you, I needed that. Could the lady's daughter help her put up the Christmas tree and twinkly lights up early? Millie, right? I don't know if anyone knows John Waite. He won Great British Bake Off ages ago. I just saw him post that he's put his Christmas tree up, and I said to him, I was like, babe, any other year I would judge you for putting your Christmas tree up this early, but I think you're allowed. From now, you're allowed. Surely, after the year we've all had, no one is going to judge you for putting your Christmas tree up. What do you think, guys? Or will you? Tell me. Do you think it's good, or do you think it's bad? MP says, can you still do your funeral job? And for anyone who doesn't know, that sounds so ominous. I was looking into being a celebrant, doing speeches at people's funerals, but I met someone who was a celebrant. We talked about it, and it didn't particularly seem right for me currently and at this age. So I didn't. Darren Hook says, you look like you've lost weight. Do I? Maybe it's lighting. I've not got the overhead lights on. Do I look a bit haggard? Maureen says, my tree's going up. Margaret Wright says, put it up. Nicola says, put the decorations up. Go for it, go for it. Selena says, I think we'll all be putting our trees up early. Carter Girls, good, good. Yeah, honestly, we'll all put our trees up, and then we'll get Boris going. Trees can... People will be like, trees can actually give COVID, guys, so take your trees down. That's what we'll... If this year teaches us anything, we'll put our Christmas trees up. It'll be like, baubles can catch COVID, so just no baubles, nothing, no tinsel. COVID remains in tinsel for up to 20 days, guys. No tinsel allowed. That's what's going to end up happening. We're all going to find the smallest piece of joy, and then bam, they'll take it away again. Woomac says, waiting for the flooring to go down in a newly built extension, and then it will be up. Well, Woomac, I look forward to seeing pictures. MP says, have you bought any Christmas presents? Yes, I bought one, and I'm drinking it. Cheers. Merry fucking Christmas. Sorry for swearing. It's not even past the watershed. Guys, thank you for joining. This is a slightly shorter one today. Thank you, Kaz Seddon, and I believe it was Victoria who sent the super sticker. That was very, very kind of you. Please do. Oh, Victoria likes the mustache. Thanks, Victoria. I'm growing it. It looks a bit weird at the minute. But please do like and subscribe. If you are new here, welcome. It's very happy to have your company. And yeah, please do hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Apparently, I've researched the thumbs up pushes the algorithm. I can't speak, and sends the video to more people. But as I said, during lockdown version 2, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be doing as much as possible. Talking heads I'll be doing. It pushes me to write as well. So send me some suggestions. I would love to hear from you. And yeah, I'm off to watch Pride of Britain Award because I don't know about you. I would like a good cry, a happy cry. Yes, free spirit. Have a lovely 40th birthday on the 4th. Yes, thank you so much for joining, everyone. See you when I see you. Oh, Tuesday night we'll be doing another live. That's every Tuesday. And yes, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye.